Welcome to Wolverine Confidential Podcast. I'm Ryan Zook.
And I'm Aaron McMahon.
On today's episode, we are joined by a special guest, Michigan wide receiver commit Jaylen Pile. He is the longest tenured commit in Michigan's 2026 class, which has now grown to 22 verbal pledges and a top 10 ranking nationally. Thanks for joining us, Jaylen.
No problem. Thank you for having me, man.
And yeah, I feel like that's a good place to start. I mean, Michigan has had an incredible surge on the recruiting trail the past 2 months after a slow start. And I know fans were concerned early on, but now you guys have the number 9 class in the country, according to the 24/7 Sports Composite. What do you think has contributed to this major swing of momentum on the recruiting trail for you guys?
I think it's just getting people on campus. You know, after our Victors weekend, that last official visit of kind of the official visit season, everybody kind of saw that we had more commits, showing up. So I really personally think that it was when the people got on the campus and really got to experience everything, that's when they started, really considering the place. Because, everybody you see that's anywhere that's a good football player is going to have Michigan in their top 5 just based off of name value. But then when you really go out and kind of see what the program is, see the coaches, see the facilities, see the town, see everything, really, like, people just, gravitate towards that. And I feel like that's kind of what elevated it because, I knew I loved it from the first moment I stepped on there. And, being able to talk to all these recruits and all these other high-level football players, it's just been an amazing opportunity to kind of, show and kind of tell them why I really love this place so much and why I felt comfortable enough to call it my home.
Now, you had a breakout junior year, nearly 1,400 receiving yards, 19 touchdowns. When did you feel your recruitment kind of start to pick up, and when did Michigan kind of enter the mix?
So really, after my sophomore year, Michigan, offered me, I think it was February 22nd, and I might be the other day. I kind of keep those things in the head that kind of be a little bit important. But after my sophomore year, I think a couple weeks after our state game, my recruitment just started blowing up. I got like 20 something offers that off season, and kind of towards like the middle of my junior year, I kind of knew where I wanted to go because I went to Michigan on my birthday, my sophomore year, to kind of visit my first time, and that was already a special moment in its own right. And I went and visited a game at the start of the year when they played Texas, and I went to a camp that summer, sophomore going into junior year. And in like the middle of the season, I was like, there's no reason for me to keep delaying where I want to go. This has been a place where I want to go for a while. This is one of those offers that I said that's obviously going to be one of my top 2, probably my number 1 school if I ever had the opportunity to go there. And I was just like, there's no reason delaying the inevitable. So I was like, yeah, it's time right there. And, I've been able and very blessed to be able to, talk to all these other recruits and get more guys in there and, be kind of a leader in the recruiting class since I was, one of the first ones to commit.
If I could follow up, you mentioned your affinity for Michigan. What was it that just, attracted you to the school?
The coaches, the coaching staff, and, you can't beat Big Ten football. You really can't. And, it's Michigan's one of those programs that whenever you turn on the TV, it's going to be one of the first things that's going to be on the screen. They're going to have national media coverage. You're going to get a good degree there. The city's amazing. Like everything there just seemed perfect. And the coaching staff just wants everybody to win. Like, everybody's such a close-knit family that you can't really go 2 steps without seeing somebody and saying what's up. Like, you'll be locked in conversation every 2 seconds you walk in there. You'll get out of one and talk to another person, get out of another conversation. And everybody's just, doing their own thing, and they all just come together really nicely.
And on a related note, which Michigan coaches recruited you the most, and who do you have the best relationship with on staff?
On staff and on the coaching staff, my guy Jack Dunaway, he's with the Seattle Seahawks now, I believe. So he was one of the first guys, to kind of reach out after, Coach Moore and Coach Bellamy reached out. Coach Bellamy, I probably had the best relationship on the team. And then Coach Moore's probably like tied him and Coach Bellamy. Because during the season last year, I think every Wednesday when I was coming home from our walkthrough, our last real practice day before our walkthroughs, I'll be on the phone with them for a little while. They would just pass the phone around the whole entire offensive staff. And, I was just able to talk to everybody. But it'd probably be a 3-way tie between Jack, Coach Bell, and Coach Moore. Those guys have always been showing love since I first got the offer. So it's just been an amazing experience.
And for the Michigan fan that maybe hasn't watched you play much or maybe just watched a little bit of your tape, can you explain your game? What are your strengths? How do you view your game and like for someone who's watching you for the first time?
I would like to say I'm a well-rounded like receiver. I'm very good at every aspect of the game: deep threats, short routes, intermediate routes, running after the catch, hands, releases, second level releases. Really just anything. Big playability. I mean, if you look at my film, 19 touchdowns isn't something that just happens normally. I think it's normal for me. That I set that kind of high expectation for myself, but just being able to have that explosive play like factor, and being able to stretch the field out and being able to be interchangeable at that receiver position, not just being like an X or Z receiver, being able to go in the slot, even go in the backfield, take a jet sweep, line up behind a tackle and kick out, just being, a well-versed receiver that all my aspects of my games are like top notch.
And yeah, obviously outstanding numbers you posted last year, a pretty impressive offers list. Yeah, it seems like some of the recruiting services don't have you ranked very high. Just how much of a motivating factor is that for you, and how much do you pay attention to those recruiting rankings?
I try not to pay too much attention to them, but I mean, obviously, they kind of have a weight now. As much as people don't want to say that recruiting has a weight on what you do, it kind of does, and rankings do, because now, you know, some coaches don't even really look at film that much anymore. They just kind of go 247 and kind of just go hand pick, be like, oh, he's a 4-star, I want him. Oh, he's a 5-star, I want to go offer him. And that was one of the things that Michigan said up front. Like, they didn't care about my rankings. They know the type of person I was. They knew what type of football player I was. I was able to show that through my film. But really, the film is kind of just an extra motivator to, not just prove those people wrong, but prove myself right, because I know what type of football player I am, and I know I'm nowhere near or should be even considered a 3-star and being ranked not high. Because I mean, I put up the numbers, I put up the stats. It's just people have their own agendas in politics, and at the end of the day, it's somebody else's opinion over yours. And you might not be everybody's, type of receiver, and that's fine with it. You're not going to be, the person for everybody when you meet. You're not going to be everybody's type of guy, but, I just know what I am, and I just use it as motivation to prove myself right every day.
Michigan has a new offensive coordinator this year, Chip Lindsey. How many conversations have you had with him? And what are your conversations like? Has he explained to you kind of where he envisions you kind of fitting into the offense next year?
Yes, sir. So actually, right when Coach Lindsey got hired, the whole offensive or kind of offensive guys that I talked to, Coach Bell, Coach Moore, and him came down to the school, and we had like a 3-hour talk at school, just talking about like his philosophies and what he envisions at Michigan. Because before that he was at UNC, and they had one of the most explosive offenses with Drake May, Amari Hampton, Joshua Downs. Like, he's had those star receivers and star running backs and star quarterback. So he knows what to do with those, pieces of the puzzle. And he kind of sees me playing everywhere, like not just being stuck at one position, kind of going from Y to like X or Z, or going like into the backfield like F, or just blocking. Cause I'm not a smaller guy. They're kind of transitioning out of like, smaller slots to kind of those guys that are like 6', 6'1", kind of a little bit bigger, where they can go play outside and play inside too, because they have the routes and skill set to do as such. And the first thing he said, he's like, "We're gonna throw that ball," and that's all I really need to know, because you know, I knew already, and I kind of believed. But seeing Coach Lindsey do that, and then being able to go to a practice and kind of talk with him there, it's really gonna be like a multiple offense. Like, it's not just gonna be run heavy. It's not gonna be pass heavy, because I mean, you can't do that. To open up the passing game, you need to have a good running attack, and they have Justice out there, so he's doing amazing. The receivers have taken a huge step forward. All my guys like Andrew and Jamar that just got over there, Jacob, Washington too, that all got up there. They're all looking pretty good. When I went back up for my OV to watch, their player led practice, so those guys have been really taking a step forward, and Coach Lindsey's really putting them in the right position to make those plays. And Coach Bell's just been developing and honing their skills, and they've looked way better than what they did last year. So I'm really excited to go back to a game and kind of watch how that offense looks.
And if I could go back to Victor's weekend again, real quick. I mean, yes, obviously a huge momentum swing for you guys. But what stood out on that during that weekend, and why do you think it produced so many commitments? I guess what happens from when you first arrived at campus to when you leave?
The first thing you're going to see is people being genuine. Recruiting can be a lot of smoke and mirrors, people just telling you what you want to hear. But that's not what Michigan does. They tell you the truth. And, that's what people, value nowadays. And that's what parents value. And the first thing Coach Bellamy said when I got there, I think my first time visiting with my mom, because me and my dad had already visited before, and we went back for the summer camp, like I said before. But my mom's first time ever coming was on the Texas game, and the first thing Coach Bellamy and Coach Moore said is, "We're going to take care of your son. We're going to take care of him and make him into a young man." And that's just a philosophy they keep out through. And a lot of parents gravitate to it. My mom's a part of the 2026 commit group chat moms, and they're very active. It's really a good family oriented place. And Michigan doesn't just recruit kids, they recruit parents too. Like, they want parents that are going to show like the Michigan football and the Michigan just identity. And a lot of these parents that we have committed, and pretty much all of them, all show the Michigan man mentality and Michigan woman mentality. So it's really just a place where they kind of felt at home. And being up there, like I said before, it's just so different because you hear about it. You hear about the game day atmosphere. You hear about the town. You hear about the coaches. You hear about them winning all these games, the winningest program. But when you really get to see it and really get to sit down with those guys, they literally will talk to you like your friend, like we're friends, not like a player coach responsibility. Obviously, they got to give you coaching where you need coaching, but all the interactions I saw with Coach Bellamy and the receivers, it's really just friend activity. Like, he's gonna get on you like a coach, but you can joke with him as a friend, and that's just something that a lot of these kids, I think, gravitate towards. And they've seen it. All these guys, at least all of them, had like a day one or day two pick on that football team, offense and defense, at pretty much every position. So just being around those type of guys and really just getting their coaching, and then being around guys who already believe in the program too. Victor's weekend was big for a lot of the commits. A lot of the commits were already there. So we got to, show them why we love that place so much. And I feel like it's different from hearing from a coach telling you why you should come than somebody who actually believes it. Because, it's two different things. Because, 9 times out of 10, a kid's not going to lie to you. He's going to tell you what the real is. And, it kind of just means more than what a coach kind of says at the end of the day for recruiting purposes.
Yeah, I'm sure you were able to connect with a lot of recruits on that trip. Or on that trip, I guess. Who do you talk with the most in Michigan's 2026 recruiting class, and who have you been able to build a close bond with already?
Um, I was talking to a lot more on the offensive side. Kind of that first day I was with Malachi. Alistar came back that week, and me and him got to play golf for a little while. Who else? Marky Walbridge. I think those were the two that committed on offense. Let me think. The defense, I was talking with Carter Meadows. I really was just with really everybody. Kind of that first day, we were all just kind of chilling, being just around the guys. And those were the guys that really weren't committed, but I was still hanging with the guys that were committed, Moose, Mason, Brady. Brody, while he was committed, I was hanging out with him, kind of just being around him. Alistar, like I said before, playing golf with him. But I think the person that I've probably made the most kind of bonds with right there from that visit was probably Alistair, because he's a Texas guy too.
Did you get the golf in Ann Arbor?
Yeah, yeah.
Nice. What course did you play?
We played the university course right across the street from the
Nice.
stadium.
Yep.
So
How'd you like it? How'd you shoot?
I shot okay. First time on the course, I wasn't gonna say we were gonna shoot real good, but I liked it. It's really nice. Not a lot of water, so that's pretty good for me. I can get around the woods. The water is just But no, it was really fun. I really like the course. I'm definitely gonna be playing there during the off season when I'm up there, and now I got a golfing buddy, so hopefully I can get some more out there.
And you mentioned Alistair also being from Texas. That makes 4 now from Texas in Michigan's 2026 class, more than any other state. How well do you know the 3 other Texas guys, and why do you think the Wolverines have been able to make more of an inroads in the state recently? Because I think they had like 3 last cycle as well.
Really, the conversations are kind of, they know at some points they kind of know as much as we do, with everything kind of moving and changing in the NIL space nowadays. Rev sharing. I think there's this new app where you kind of have to put all your, endorsements and things into an app. So things are constantly changing, and they never really have like a set kind of thing that goes on with it. But, hopefully by the time I get up there, I'll kind of know what's going on. But at the end of the day, it's really not about money for me. I'm getting to play at a, prestigious college, and a place where I can, make a name for myself and, make a life out of being a Michigan man, not just on the field, but off the field as well. But NIL, it's a pretty cool thing. but hopefully they can, figure it out by the time I get there, because it's a lot of moving parts behind the scenes.
Another question on the recruiting front, and go into as much detail as you care to share, but like, could you explain Michigan's messaging when it comes to NIL and revenue sharing? What are they telling you guys? What are they being transparent about? Like, what are those conversations like behind the scenes? Because that's the topic of conversation nowadays, right? With recruiting, it's who can get the most money, et cetera, et cetera. What are those conversations been like?
Yeah. So, like I said, I met Alistar after he committed. I was texting him. His mom and my mom are really good friends. My dad, his dad, me and him were able to, play golf. Had a little two-man scramble out there. And then Zion, I've worked out with him multiple times. Been to the same camps. Because I mean, when you're in Texas, all the best kind of players, they're all around the same camps. They all kind of know each other. Acquaintances, not really like good friends, but I've been glad to be able to kind of strengthen that relationship with Zion now that he's a part of the team. And then Jordan Deck, I've been around him for a while. Going to the same camps, Under Armour camp, Adidas camp, FBU, playing against him going against him at college camps. Just like I say, all the top guys from Texas are all going to be around each other at all times, and it's really a close knit community of all those guys that kind of are going to those Power 5 colleges, Power 4 now colleges. So yeah, and I just think the Texas to Michigan kind of pipeline is just something like, regardless of where you live, you obviously want to play in the best, division, Big Ten, and you want to play the best competition. And, Michigan is going to send those DBs out into the NFL. And now we're going to bring back to the receiver, pipeline that we had prior to, years before, when Coach Bellamy and all of them, were coaching and playing years before. So we're just, getting back on track out there. And, people from Texas have no problem with moving far. So, I think that's kind of why we're building that pipeline.
You mentioned your dad earlier. He played in college. He played in the NFL. What type of impact has he had on your career so far, and what type of guidance did he give you during the recruiting process?
He's been one of the biggest helps to me. I'm forever, in debt to what he, has done for me. And he's helped me so much. I remember it was, I think, 3 years ago. He sat me down and was like, this, I forgot how long ago it was. It was like 3 years ago. But he said this summer, he kind of had like a kind of timeline planned out for me. And, that's what I wanted to go by. And kind of, that was my set goal. Like, I wanted to be really, realistically, I wanted to be committed, right before fall camp starts of my senior year. Kind of just going in and, not having to worry about having to perform super duper duper like crazy to try to earn an offer. And I could just go out there and have fun. But, things kind of changed. I felt at home kind of earlier, but he's been one of those guys that have just pushed me whenever I thought, I didn't have that much left, and, creating new highs, basically. He's just been an amazing person. He's lived the recruiting process, although his was a little different. Not as much FaceTime with the coaches as much as we do it now. But, he still drops great kind of gems on me, and, has been just amazing help to everything that I do on the field and off the field.
And the Bryce Underwood hype train has seemed to be full steam ahead ever since he committed to Michigan last November. Potentially the starter is as a true freshman next year. How much have you been able to talk with him, and what have you envisioned what it would be like to play with someone of that caliber at the college level?
Oh yeah, of course. When I went back there for their spring ball, I was just taking mental reps of wherever position I was going to play. Just going throughout the line and like seeing what type of routes they run. But no, he's an amazing quarterback. Everything they said times it by 10, and not just in a football aspect, but as a person. Like, he's an amazing person off the field. He's an amazing football player on the field. Like, and him and Jaden Davis, just build off of each other so well, and it's all friendly competition. But the hype train for Bryce is extremely real, and he is an extremely real quarterback, an extremely real thrower, run the ball, smart, can fit into tight windows, like, and his arm strength is just out of this world. He'll just sit back and just throw it 60 yards in the air. I'm just like, whoa. And it's with pretty perfect placement every single time. And he's given the receivers opportunity to make plays. And that's really all you can ask for as a quarterback.
Now, I got to ask, you committed in October. Michigan wasn't playing particularly well then. They were struggling offensively.
Yeah.
What made you stick with your commitment, and what gives you the optimism, what gives you optimism that things can change?
Well, when I committed, Brady and Brody were committed as well. Brady Hart and Brody Jennings were committed, so I kind of talked with them, and I knew that when me and Brady got there, we were going to change Michigan. And that's kind of what I believed, and I believed in what the coaches said. I believe that this was just like an off year, a rebuilding year, and I just stuck with it. Like there was no reason, no kind of way that they gave me an option to kind of like cool off of them, because I mean, there's nothing that really made me want to cool off of them. I love the place, love the coaches, love the location. It's a real quick flight, like 2 hours 30 minutes. Easy for my family to get, and my parents loved it as well. My little brother loves it, and really, it was just an amazing place. So I didn't feel like I needed to go anywhere else. And that, like I said before, that was one of the places that I knew if I got an offer from there, they were going to be like one of my top schools. Where whoever the coach was, it was going to be one of my top schools. And I was blessed to see that Hayes Fawcett edit one day after a practice before a playoff game to see Bryce committed. And I was fine with whoever played, and kind of Bryce just put the world on notice to show that Michigan, regardless of what type of year they were having, they still were going to get those guys. Uh, Did he commit? I think he committed before the Ohio State game, like a week or two before. I
Yeah,
might.
yeah, yeah.
So, and then after that Ohio State game, it kind of just sealed it, because then everybody was talking about Michigan, like, oh, it could have been an off year, but they still beat that team. So it's just like people wanted to hate on it, but I mean, it's just like I knew where I wanted to go from a young age, and there was really nothing that was going to kind of deter me from that path that I wanted to be on.
Were you able to watch that Michigan Ohio State game last year? And what was your thoughts watching that?
So yeah, so that week we had a playoff game that Saturday, and I had to be at the facility kind of earlier in the day, like 3 o'clock. So me and my family kind of sat down, and then I got to like the third or the start of the fourth quarter. Then I had to go up to the facility. So
Oh
then I was
man.
playing it. I was playing it through my phone in the car, and I was pulling up right when they were storming the field, and kind of like the last 2 minutes on my drive to the facility, I was just playing the Michigan Fight song the entire way down. Just windows down, just Michigan Fight song. It was it was awesome. It was an awesome game. It kind of, like I said, it put the world on notice to show like they weren't, like that season wasn't done, and they carried that momentum into the bowl game against Alabama. You saw what they did to Alabama, and so it's just like it put the world on notice. But I was blessed to be able to watch that with my family. But this year we're definitely going to be at that game in attendance now that it's at the big house. So it'll be my first time ever going to that game, and then the next year I'll be playing in it. So it's going to be a fun experience.
Now that you have your commitment locked up, nothing to really worry about. What are your goals for your senior year?
Uh, Really just have fun. It's going to be the last time that I play football in high school. Last time I, kind of maybe even see some of the guys that I play with, and being able to play with those guys, and just kind of going for whatever. Honestly, like probably try to get 1,500 yards, try to break 20 touchdowns, receptions. Awards, first team, all state. Try to be on that Waterburger super team. Just kind of really just any area that I didn't, do my junior year, kind of just fill in those, blank spaces with some color, and just, like I said, just have fun, because you're never going to get any of these moments back. High school flew by. I still remember myself waking up my summer going into my freshman year, ready for fall camp, just super excited. And, now it's going to be my last fall camp of high school. So those times really just fly by, and, just having fun while it lasts.
And as we know, I mean, nothing is official until signing day, and schools frequently continue to recruit prospects committed to other schools. How often do you hear from other schools, even though you're committed to Michigan?
A little often. Last off season was kind of, more heavy. I still got some offers after, I was committed to Michigan, like Kansas State, Arizona. They've still been, talking a little bit. Kind of died down now since I'm kind of like a hard commit. Kind of know it's going to be a little hard to deter me off of where I want to go. But I mean, yeah, still a lot of schools still recruit, still reach out. But I'm never the type of guy to, just ghost any type of coach, because you never know where they could be. They could become a NFL OC, NFL wide receiver coach, and now instead of recruiting you, they're drafting you, and they're putting a lot of trust in you. So I just want to be one of those guys that, regardless of where I go, I still have good relationships with any coach.
Now, before you get to campus, you have any plans this fall? You get up for some games? Do you plan on early enrolling? What's the plan? Before you get here?
Yeah, so I do plan on going to the Ohio State Michigan game, and then I'm trying to see if my bye week, their game is a home game on my bye week. I'm trying to see that, and then yeah, I will be early enrolling in December. So after the football season, I think I have to wait like a week, and then I go up there and enroll, and then hopefully it's not just regular bowl practice; it's national championship practice, and be a part of that kind of experience. But I think I'm going to try to go to at least one game, hopefully two this year, depending on what my bye week looks like. And then, early enrolling and kind of, being able to be around the playbook and be around the guys earlier and, kind of get ready on that college weight plan, college eating plan, winter workouts, and being able to participate in spring ball is going to be huge. So that's just one of those things that, if anybody, kind of watching wants to, play football at a high level, early enrolling is probably the best and smartest thing you could ever do. And that's something that a lot of these kids should start doing because it puts you miles ahead of those guys that are coming in the summer because you've had 6 months of eating, 6 months of, working out with the team, 6 months of running, 6 months of just learning the playbook, 6 months of just being around the guys and being somebody who they can trust, And I think that's just a huge help.
And last thing before we let you go, who's your favorite current college player and current favorite NFL player?
Ooh, current college. Let me think. Ooh, current college. I'm gonna have to go. I like Taylor McMillan last year, but I think this year I'm probably one of the guys. Me and my wide or I work out with my receiver coach. He has a guy on he has a guy on LSU named Kyle Parker. So that's one of my favorite guys right now. He's gonna have a breakout year this year from LSU. And then NFL, I'd probably say Malik Neighbors. Malik Neighbors, he's one of those guys that you can move around. Him, CeeDee Lamb are kind of really tied 1 and 2 for me right now. Because when you see those guys play, you see them how they move around. Their routes are really fluid, strong hands, good speed, like all those things that I have to my game. Kind of try to model my game after them. So those are probably my two guys right now.
I absolutely love Malik Neighbors, and I had him on my fantasy team last year. I just wish he had a better quarterback throwing to him instead of Daniel Jones, but that's all right. Maybe this year, this
Yeah,
year with Russ, we'll see.
yeah. Dangerous been throwing it pretty well in those little mini camps. So hopefully he'll get right.
For sure, for sure. Well, I definitely appreciate the time, Jaylen, and I want to wish you the best of luck here for your senior season.
I appreciate y'all. Thank you.